We've been welcomed to the Capitol by our next guest, Chairman Dustin Burrows. We're broadcasting today from the governor's press conference room here at the state capitol of Texas, and someone who probably did not get a lot of sleep last night, Chairman Dustin Burrows, joining us now on the program. Good morning.
Good morning, Chad. Thank you for having me on. We had a long committee hearing in Ways and Means. It was a good hearing. Heard lots of testimony, and then I think we concluded right before midnight, got home, and then I think around 4:30 a.m. I was up thinking about taxes again. So, just par for the course down here, especially this time of year. A little bit early, but before we, before long, it's going to be over, so you got to get moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So what did you take away from, obviously this was was it 12 hours that y'all were in the hearing? I
haven't gone back to count. We actually started at 8 a.m. We heard another bill, and then we came back after the session on the floor, and so we heard, from probably 12:30, close to midnight, somewhere in there. So
what was your takeaway from this hearing?
There's a lot of consensus in some areas. There's a lot of disagreement than others. I think when you focus on, different constituencies and you focus on different parts of, what this bill's designed to do, you hear from different viewpoints. But, I said this in my layout. I mean, the bill's focus really is on the taxpayer. And that's where it's intended to be. And we had lots of good testimony, I think, supporting not only the goodness of the bill, but the need for actually having a serious Property Tax Protection Act passed.
The last time you were on my show, you said that, about the 2.5% mark, that, hey, we want everybody at the table. We want to hear from everybody. You have a lot of cities and counties that have come out and said 2.5%, we're not fans of that. You have a lot of citizens who've come out and said 2.5%. They like that. So how do you balance those two?
Well, I like 2.5, which is why I filed the bill at 2.5, and I'm going to meet with the members of the committee. We're a committee of 11 and a House of 150. I'm going to go visit with each of them and kind of see what they heard and what they think, and see what they're really thinking the merits of, every piece of the bill, not just that, are, and then make a final, idea of what I believe the final version ought to look like, and then go visit with the rest of the House and see what we can't get done.
The Senate version of the bill has, some carve-outs of rural areas, and also where they can opt in to the bill if citizens in more rural areas want to. Is that something that you are going to be looking at in the House?
Absolutely. I think that we heard from, taxpayers on both sides of that issue, but, I know that I represent districts that are in the carve-out, and, of course, they're wanting to, have some of this reform as well. And so as I visit with the members, we're going to try to make sure that we get it right. We're going to try to figure out what we can't get done, but, we're going to then take it and see where we can get to.
And I brought this up yesterday in my interview with Chairman Bentoncourt, that, this is a bill that seems to, at times, pit citizens against the local lawmakers, in counties and cities, and then you guys, and who are here, and y'all are kind of, you're listening to the citizens, because I think most citizens want property tax relief, where the cities and the counties want y'all to step back. So how do you balance listening to those two constituencies?
Well, we're doing our job. I mean, we're supposed to, we don't actually levy the property tax. We don't really administer it. We don't set the rates. But we do put the guardrails on there. We basically make sure it's a transparent process. And one of my, honest frustrations in the entire process is one part of the bill, the taxpayer visibility bill, so you actually start to know when the tax rate setting hearings are, you actually know who's raising your taxes when, and encouraging voters to get engaged, is a significant, monumental reform that's going to have long-lasting effects on the entire process. And of course, because it's no longer contentious, at one point in time it was contentious, it doesn't make all the headlines. And so, I do flag that because it really is this great component of the bill, and finally we're starting to see everyone kind of come around and coalesce and say, yeah, there's some greatness in there.
And you're right, no one's talking about it. No one's talking about that part. It seems like everyone's for that, right?
They are now.
Okay. They weren't last time.
Yeah, and so here's the takeaway. Because it's not contentious, nobody's talking about it. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean it doesn't do great things.
Yeah. Visiting with Chairman Dustin Burrows here on the Chad Hasty Show at the state capitol. What's the timeline? for you on this bill? Obviously, we had the hearing last night. Where will y'all go from here?
Well, the timeline started this morning at 4:30 a.m. when I woke up, after sincerely, I told everybody in my bill layout, I did not have a committee substitute that I was going to file that day, that I wanted to hear from everybody who showed up, and we did. We stayed there and we listened to everybody, and we heard all sides of the spectrum, and I think that's the process, and happy to do that. 4:30, at least I started my deliberations. We're working on some ideas. I'm going to go visit with the other members of my committee. It is a committee of 11, not a committee of 1. It's the right thing to do. And you know what? They're going to have heard some things that I want to hear from them about. We're going to huddle throughout next week. So hopefully we're moving through the process. And once I get through that part of it, then we'll kind of know where phase 2 comes in at.
What is the difference on this issue during this session versus the last session when there was work to try to get something done on this?
Yeah, let me think about how I want to phrase that. Speaker Dennis Bonnet, I obviously think he's doing a phenomenal job, and his leadership in the Texas House has focused us on 2 issues. He said school finance reform, deal with property taxes, some school safety, but those 2 main issues. He said, guys, this is what we need to get done for Texas. And I believe the people of District 83, the people I represent, are very happy to see us focused on those 2 issues. And it's his leadership that's keeping everybody, focused there. And that's why it's going to get done.
Let's talk about kind of the step 2 of this, or the partner of this bill, which is school financing. You've said on this show before that, a major component of this is the school part of this and the financing. How do these 2 tie in?
Well, they're tied together in the bill. First and foremost, we actually do a compression of the property tax growth rate allowed for school districts to 2.5%. That's down from 5%, and so the state has to backfill it. So, if your concern is how much local property taxes are funding public education versus, what we call the state share, this is the bill to start getting the state to contribute more money, to stop having schools financed as much by the local property tax. The compression piece is exactly it. However, the mechanics of how that money is actually distributed, so we actually figure out how much money is coming in. That's what Ways and Means does. That's the tax setting policy, and the compression piece in HB2 is what makes that determination. But the backside is, okay, once we figure that out, how much is actually going out? That's going to be determined in Pub Ed, and we're waiting on Chairman Huberty, who is going to do a great job, I know he is, to give us, what we call the runs, which shows how each school district is impacted by what is going to be probably HB3 or another low bill number, and that should be out, sooner than later.
For those who are watching this and they hear how closely tied school financing and property tax relief are, and knowing that the days are going by here at the Capitol, and knowing that these are 2 big contentious issues, these are going to be big issues for you guys to get past. Can you have one without the other? Can one bill get through without the other? And are you waiting? Are both bills sort of on the same timeline? Like, are you trying to march together on this?
Look, we're trying to get both bills passed, and they both need to pass. I mean, I think in a lot of ways they are married together. I mean, if you're asking me hypothetically, could one pass without the other? I'd tell you I don't think they should. I think these 2 bills go hand in hand, and we need to keep them as tied together as possible. And I think the goal of leadership is to make sure these 2 bills are going to both pass. Yeah,
and the reason I bring that up is because, I mean, how heated it gets, and how, as soon as we're talking about the budget and, there are other issues out there, which one gets voted on first, and hopefully they both get passed. And that's what y'all want. But it's one of those that everyone knows it's going to be a battle, and I've already had, I think, 3 guests who've talked about a special session, which is, not what everyone wants to hear in the hallways, but that's it's already being floated out there.
Look, I am committed to tackling both of these issues. My goal is to tackle them in the regular, but regardless, if we have to come back to a session to get them done, the most important thing is not only getting them done, but getting them done right. And I think everybody in Texas is looking to us to have leadership to get these 2 issues accomplished.
Visiting with Chairman Dustin Burrows. We've got a few minutes left here. Before I let you go, what are some of the other things that you're taking a look at? I know you're handling a few different issues.
Sure. We're taking a look, of course, we talk about price transparency in health care. And in fact, I met with my team early this morning to talk about some of the other legislation that we do intend to file, and some of the bills we have filed. We're trying to make sure that, the Amazons and eBays and onliners who are out in California have to actually pay sales tax. I hear from my local retailers all the the time that, sometimes they're even having to close their business from unfair competition. They say there shouldn't be tax loopholes for California-based companies. And I agree. In working with the comptroller, my counterparts in the Senate, we filed some legislation to help even up that playing field, and I'm very proud of that. And of course, there's a slew of other bills that, we are working on and we have filed.
There was a story in the Dallas Morning News this morning about Representative Jonathan Stickland. He's got a bill that would ban red light cameras in Texas. Seems as though he's got 100 co-sponsors on it already. You think this is something that gets passed?
Well, I don't think I'm a co-author. I think I'm one of the only 4 joint authors on that bill. Representative Stickland came to me, and you get a spot for 4 people who would want to pass that bill, as if it were their own. And I'm, I think, the second joint author of that bill because I just don't like the idea of them. I just think it's wrong, and I think most people in Lubbock don't want red light cameras just a money-making tool. And so we're looking for a statewide ban on it.
It looks like it's gaining momentum in this session.
Well, judging by the number of people who've signed on, looks like that's unpopular across the entire state.
Yeah, I guess people don't like getting the tickets in the mail and the red light cameras that are going on. Cities enjoy them, though. Cities and counties enjoy them. Let's see, anything else that people need to know about what's going on, and how do they get in touch if they want to get a hold of your office and know what's going on or voice their opinion on something? How do they do it?
So all of my contact information, both the Lubbock numbers, and of course I do have staff in both Lubbock and Austin. They can find me on my website, burrows4tx.com, burrows4tx.com. Call us if there's an issue that you want to weigh in on, whether it's a big issue or maybe just an issue that's important to you, or maybe it's an issue you think, why haven't you guys thought about this? We'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with my staff, get in touch with me, and love to talk it through. And we've got another week until the deadline to actually file bills, and so it's getting kind of close, but maybe, we always find some brilliant ideas as we talk to people, and maybe we can get something done for you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming up here today, and thanks for having us here in Austin.
All right, Chad, thank you so much.
Appreciate it. That's Chairman Dustin Burrows.